Welcome back to A320 Knowledge, your trusted source for Airbus expertise. Today, we're diving into part 1 of our masterclass on low visibility operations. Throughout this course, we'll explore all aspects of low visibility operations and procedures, starting with an introduction to LVOs and the specific requirements for airfields and flight crews. We'll delve into the types of weather that can impact operations, provide an overview of the instrument landing system, and examine aerodrome lighting and markings. Lastly, we'll go through the Airbus-specific LVO operational procedures in detail. So, why are low visibility operations procedures essential? Low ceilings and poor visibility pose significant safety risks across all types of aviation activities. According to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, these factors contribute to 37% of incidents involving commuter and air taxi operators. Accidents under such conditions often occur when pilots without the necessary training or qualifications encounter reduced visibility, leading to outcomes such as loss of control, controlled flight into terrain, ground collisions, or runway incursions. However, the statistics also show that commercial airlines, whose pilots are specifically trained for LVO, experience far fewer incidents directly tied to low visibility conditions. Beyond safety, low visibility also significantly impacts operational efficiency, reducing airport capacity and complicating flight schedules. LVO procedures are specialized protocols implemented at airports to facilitate Category 2 and Category 3 operations, as well as departures when runway visual range, RVR, drops below 550 meters. Since 2001, regulations have required airports to develop LVO procedures whenever visibility prevents the control tower from overseeing parts of the maneuvering area. Additionally, EARSA advises that control towers monitor as much of the maneuvering area as possible under such conditions. Globally, the International Civil Aviation Organization provides overarching standards for LVOs. Regionally, these are adapted by governing bodies such as the European Union Aviation Safety Agency and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration. In European airspace, EARSA Ops establishes the foundational requirements for airlines and airports, ensuring consistency and safety. In the United States, similar regulations are outlined by the FAA under its Code of Federal Regulations and supporting guidance documents. Low visibility conditions significantly slow airline operations. Air traffic control reduces the number of arrivals and departures, flight crews taxi at lower speeds, and precipitation may necessitate de-icing. Without strict adherence to LVO protocols, the risks of incidents such as runway incursions or ground collisions increase. LVOs are only permitted when the airport, aircraft, and crew meet the required certification standards. Both EARSA and FAA regulations mandate specialized training for aircrew before conducting Cat 2 or Cat 3 operations. This training typically includes ground theory courses and simulator-based practical exercises. Computer-based programs are widely used to fulfill the theoretical training requirements. By aligning international and regional standards, these procedures ensure that low visibility conditions are managed safely and efficiently worldwide. Fog is the primary driver behind low visibility operations in aviation. Its rapid formation, persistence, and unique characteristics make it one of the most significant weather challenges faced by pilots and airports worldwide. Let's have a look at it in more detail. Fog is essentially a surface-level cloud made up of tiny water droplets or ice crystals. It is the leading cause of visibility dropping below 3 miles and one of aviation's most frequent and persistent weather challenges. Fog can develop very quickly, often reducing visibility from several miles to less than 1 mile in mere minutes. It forms when the temperature and dew point are nearly identical, accompanied by ample moisture or condensation. Fog is especially common in coastal regions due to high humidity and in industrial areas where combustion byproducts increase condensation. It can also form when air cools to its dew point or when moisture is added to the air near the ground. There are 5 main types of fog, classified by their formation process: radiation fog, advection fog, upslope fog, precipitation-induced fog, and ice fog. Radiation fog forms close to the ground, typically during nighttime or early morning. It is usually shallow but can be dense enough to obscure the sky, leaving tall objects like towers or buildings visible above it. This fog occurs as the ground cools, chilling the air in contact with it until the temperature nears the dew point. It is restricted to land because water surfaces don't cool significantly at night. Conditions like rain-soaked ground followed by clear skies often result in radiation fog the next morning. Key factors include clear skies, light or no wind, high relative humidity, and a small temperature dew point difference. Advection fog develops when moist air moves over a cooler surface, such as land or water. Along coastlines, this is often referred to as sea fog. It forms quickly at any time, day or night, and can deepen as wind speeds increase, up to around 15 knots. Higher winds tend to lift it into a low stratus cloud. This fog is typically more widespread and longer lasting than radiation fog. Upslope fog appears when stable, moist air is forced upward along sloping terrain, cooling as it rises. This fog is denser and can extend to high altitudes. It differs from radiation fog because it can form even under cloudy skies and persists until the upslope wind stops. Precipitation-induced fog occurs when warm precipitation falls through cooler air. The evaporation saturates the cooler air, leading to fog formation. This type is often associated with warm fronts, but can also appear near slow-moving cold or stationary fronts. It poses extra risks due to its proximity to icing, turbulence, and thunderstorms. Ice fog occurs in sub-freezing temperatures, typically 20 degrees or colder, when water vapor transforms directly into ice crystals. Like radiation fog, it forms under clear skies, but requires much colder conditions. Ice fog is common in Arctic areas and can occasionally appear in middle latitudes during winter. It can be particularly challenging when flying toward the sun, as it creates blinding conditions. In Cat 1 weather, visibility is mainly obstructed by cloud bases, precipitation, and airborne particles. However, in Cat 2 and Cat 3 operations, fog becomes the primary limitation. Factors affecting visibility in these conditions include the density, thickness, and structure of the fog. Homogeneous fog has a consistent density throughout its height, meaning visibility gradually improves as an aircraft descends because the obstruction's depth decreases. This type of fog is commonly used in simulator training. Mature fog is denser at higher altitudes, with visibility improving as the aircraft descends into lower levels where the fog begins to lift. Shallow ground fog is the opposite, with its density decreasing with height. As a result, visibility improves rapidly as altitude increases. This type of fog typically forms shortly after sunset and can develop from radiation fog, eventually transitioning into homogeneous or mature fog if conditions persist. To wrap up Part 1, we've covered the foundations of low visibility operations and an introduction of different fog types. In later tutorials, we'll take a closer look at the instrument landing system, aerodrome lighting and markings, and Airbus-specific operational techniques used to navigate low-visibility conditions safely. Thanks for tuning in to Part 1 of our Masterclass on low-visibility operations.